Welcome to the Northeast Kingdom Voice. I'm your host, Scott Wheeler. Today's guest is Phil Fiermonte, the son of the late, great Dr. Frank Fiermonte. He's here to talk about a movement that might just name a recreational field after his late father. Welcome to the show, Phil.
Great to be with you, Scott.
Hey, I don't know. Do you think how have you been? You're the only boy in the family. Have you been able to fill your father's shoes?
Oh, boy, that's my dad was he was quite a guy. He was a great dad, and 40 years, town doctor in Derby, and in those days that was pretty much 24/7. And
Right.
I'm proud of what I've done, but my dad's kind of a hero in my eyes. I don't know that I could ever fill his shoes, but I'm so proud of him, and I'm so happy and feel so fortunate that I was able to grow up as his son, and feel so fortunate to have grown up in Derby, Vermont.
Right.
I spent my 18 years there, same house, right on Main Street in Derby, and the people in that community. It was a different time. It was a simpler time, but everybody knew everyone. I practically lived at Kurt and Betty Brainerd's house across the street because my good friend Gary lived there, and the McNallys next door, and it was a wonderful community, salt of the earth people who were really decent, hardworking, and that shaped a lot of who I am, obviously, and my values. So I think my dad did a good job in picking Derby when he was a young man and looking for his first experience as a doctor out of medical school, and decided to settle in Derby. I don't think I could fill his shoes, but so proud to be his son.
As you know, I've written a couple times about him. He was a guest on my show as well. And to this day, I often quote, when I've been talking about health, I often find myself quoting your father, because as you probably know, he had a love-hate relationship with modern medicine. He appreciated modern medicine, but the one thing he didn't care for is a lot of time the personal stuff was left out of healthcare, and he talked about too much of modern medicine is cookie cutter medicine.
Exactly.
And he just felt that if you actually talk to the person, you were given time, that a lot of times you could find out things just by talking to them.
Yeah. No, you have a very good memory, Scott, because I heard my father on that topic many, many times, and you expressed it perfectly. And my father was a very good diagnostician, and he always said that requires really taking time and listening to people. And you're so right. Today, in the modern world of corporate medicine, it is cookie cutter. It's oftentimes super impersonal. Today you have, they all, what do they call it? The electronic medical records, right? So the doctor's looking at the iPad and typing things in and not connecting with the patient. No, it was a different time. And my dad's office was in our house. And, I would say the first half of his practice, there were no appointments necessary. He just showed up. It was office hours in the evening, and he saw patients until the last person was seen. That was 5 nights a week. So very, very, very different. I think we've gotten away from kind of patient-centered medicine. And, you're looking now at a situation where you have these investors buying medical practices. It's become very corporatized, and I think that has not been good
Right.
for the quality of healthcare.
Right. Now, just for the listeners and the viewers, to put some perspective behind uh, your about the time period that your
Yeah,
father cared for people here. In his early days, he told me, he said, sometimes when he was doing house calls, if he was going out to Holland during, say, mud season, he would periodically have to drive to a certain point, and then they would come and pick him up in a horse and wagon
yeah,
and bring him to the farmhouse.
yeah,
And sometimes if the people were really poor, he might get you might get vegetables for payment or something. So
yeah.
it was certainly a different time period. And he said you certainly didn't go into the field back in the early days to get rich. He said, and you were a jack of all trades. Like he said, he talked about things like dropping ether and
Yeah, yeah,
and everything. And he just said doctors were almost everything. You were delivering babies. And I know
yeah.
that my father, I can't remember the name of the doctor or the dentist. He was the person cleaning his teeth had actually delivered him. And so yeah, it was just so.
No,
All right.
he would often point out on the back roads, "Oh, I delivered a baby in that house there," that kind of thing. He always told a funny story, about the roads and what have you. And he was driving in bad road conditions, muddy, and like you said, the horse wagon shows up to pick him up, and they say, "Well, how did you know I was here?" And he goes, "Oh, well, my wife has a party line, and she heard your call, and she knew you wouldn't be able to make it through, so she sent me out here to pick you up." So
Hey,
yeah, it was clearly a different time then.
so tell me, one thing I don't think he told me, but when I posted it once, everybody else mentioned his invisible dog.
Oh
What was that about?
yeah. Well, any kids who went to see my dad, will remember that invisible dog. And it was my dad was pretty good at kind of throwing his voice, a bit of a ventriloquist. And so kids would come in, and before he would give them a shot, he would start barking, and he could do it very well. It really sounded like a dog, and he'd mask his mouth, so the kid would really think there was a dog in the room and get all excited about it. And then he'd give him the shot, and it was all over. The kid didn't know what happened. So that was his way of giving shots. And I can't tell you how many people as adults would come up to him. So I remember that dog in your
Right.
office, Doc. So yeah.
Well, it was kind of like his counterpart across the border, Doctor Bouchard.
Dr. Bouchard.
Except for Dr. Bouchard actually had a real dog. Like one of his dogs was a Saint Bernard named Beethoven, and by the way, my late wife used to always tell me, because if you haven't noticed, I can remember things from interviews from many years ago, but I don't know where I put my wallet down. Uh, it's and my new wife has figured out the same thing. I have uncanny memory for the smallest of details,
Yeah,
except for like where I put my wallet,
yeah,
wallet down, my keys, and so on. Hey, before we move on to about this possible naming of the rec field, but oftentimes, especially women of your father's generation, were almost forgotten, when in reality, I think I have come to the conclusion: women are the strongest sex, no matter what. But particularly of that generation, I think they were very strong women, but they were often overlooked. Tell me a little bit about
yeah.
your mother.
Yeah, my mom was an amazing woman. She was a registered nurse. My parents met actually when my mother was working at a nurse at St. Anne's Hospital in Fall River, Mass, and my dad was interning there as a young intern. And so when they got married and moved to Derby, she helped him out in the practice. I mean, she was, his assistant of sorts. And she would often help out at they would have public health clinics for public school kids, vaccinations and that sort of thing. But she was a really strong woman, and it was a tough time, and she was very bright, and in some ways lived in the shadow of my father. I think she was born in a different generation. She probably would have, had a career and more of something of her own. But she, her life was dedicated to being a mom and supporting my dad. And she was a wonderful woman, and I miss her dearly.
Right. And you're the only boy. And if I recall right, I think I have a photo of you and your father. You were a little boy of maybe 2 or 3, and were you out on a house call with him or something?
Yeah, I know that photograph. Yeah, I used to go out. Me and my sisters would go on house calls with my dad from time to time. But yeah, that was taken at one of those house calls. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, let's move on now. As I didn't know about this movement until all of a sudden I started seeing some of the posts that I posted on social media that I'd posted about your father over the years, about some of the articles. Some of them started springing back to life, several years after I posted them. And then I saw, oh, I see what's going on. There's a movement to name the sporting complex, a sports field, a recreational field there, after your father. And well, first of all, can you explain, put some, for those who don't know, where was your father's practice compared to the modern day town clerk? Because that will put some, that will help better explain why the decision, why there's a move to name the field after your father.
Yeah. Well, Brian Smith, who's on the select board in Derby and former state rep from Derby, is the one who has kind of championed this. Our families were very close, and Brian had great respect for my dad, and he just thought it would be a really nice tribute to him and his legacy as the town doc there for 40 years. To name this recreational field after my father. And it is kind of right behind where our house was, where the town clerk's office is. We were 2 doors down from that, closer to what's now North Country Junior High School, former Derby Academy. And so it's right behind there. And Brian and the town were able to work with Senator Peter Welch in securing some federal dollars for a new recreational field in Derby, and as I understand it, it's gonna be really nice. I don't think it's fully built yet. I think they're in the process of finishing it, but it's will include pickleball courts, tennis courts, basketball court, picnic tables and benches, walking paths. It'll be a really nice asset for Derby, and so I'm, Brian approached me about it, and I said, of course, our family would be so honored to have something named after my dad, so that he could be remembered, for a long time for his contributions to the people of Derby and in the surrounding area. So Brian has kind of gone, taken it on to have the park named after my dad. He made some posts on Facebook. Suggesting that people contact Bob Kelly, Derby Town Administrator, to give I guess the town is looking for feedback on the name. So Brian is encouraging folks to get in touch with Bob, and if you think it's a good idea to name it after my dad, get in touch with Bob Kelly, and I'm sure you can find his name and number online. I don't know if there are any other contenders, but anyway, I'm just honored that Brian took that initiative, and we'd be honored if it in fact it does become named after my dad, Fiermonte Field or something like that.
Right. You know, and to give the listeners and viewers even a better understanding of where the house office was. It was the big beautiful. It was the beautiful house on Main Street, as you said. But the locals might remember it in more recent years. Almost we almost lost that
Yeah.
house. When I first saw the flames, because the flames actually appeared to have been worse than the actual damage, in the sense of it was just looked like
Yeah, I saw the pictures. Yeah.
yeah, and but they were able to save it, and it came back. Have you visited it since it's been remodeled?
No, I visited it when it was being remodeled. The construction crew was there. I think one of the owners was there. I told them who I was, and they were super nice and invited me to come. And I did walk through the property. And I don't even know. You would know better than me, Scott. I think it's an Airbnb or some sort of uh, you know, bed and breakfast lodging. Is that did that come to fruition and that's what it
Oh,
is now?
I think it was Airbnb when it happened, I believe.
Oh, okay.
And I don't know about
Yeah, that's right.
now, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, what do you think your father? What do you think your father would think about this? Would he be happy? Would he be like just like, oh, like humble, or what would
Yeah,
he?
he was a pretty modest guy. I think he'd be just honored and humbled by such a recognition. Obviously, he didn't do the work for the fame and fortune. He did it because of his commitment to trying to help people.
Right.
That's who he was, and but I'm sure he'd be very humbled and honored.
I just noticed I was just browsing on social media, and there another great Derby resident was recognized. I can't remember how they recognized him, but it was a man that your father spent some of his remaining days with, down when they were both in assisted living down in
Oh yeah,
is Lindy Palin. There is another man from Derby that even in his 90s, that man was a class act, a handsome, dashing B-17 bomber pilot. So
yeah,
it's interesting because one of the times I interviewed your father and Lindy was down when they were together,
yeah,
and now they're very possibly being recognized by the town of Derby
yeah.
at the same time.
Yeah, no, that was really surprising and very welcome. When my dad was at an assisted living facility, he had a heart attack in Florida, and I moved him to Burlington so I could be closer with him. And very nice facility in South Burlington. And lo and behold, who moves in to the facility? I think I don't know, a few months after my father was there, but Lindy and
Eddie.
Evie,
Yeah.
who were very good friends of my parents for many, many years. And you're absolutely right. Lindy, he was a class act. He's just a very decent, smart, interesting person. And I really enjoyed spending time with them. And we were, I knew all the kids in the family, and my sisters did. My sisters were close with a couple of girls, and we got reacquainted with them because they would come and visit. So we spent quite a bit of time with them. And I went to Evie's funeral, and yeah, that was very fortuitous. I think it really helped my dad out a lot having a good friend there that he knew well from the past, and I'm sure that was the same for Lindy
Right.
and Evie.
I know I had the honor of being able to host Lindy's send off, his great send off, and that was such an honor because Lindy and I because of my work, a lot of people don't realize that these older people, like as I've written, Joe Queenan, another class act from Derby
Yeah.
Line, Joe Queenan went on to be my best friend. And I brought him to Washington, D.C. on one of the honor flights. And
No kidding.
yeah, and on these older people that I interview is some, like when people had asked me, do you see Joe as your grandfather? I says, no, he's my best friend. And we would do things, and we'd even been known to drink he liked Irish beer. I weren't so much into his Irish beer, but that's okay. Joe had to have his faults. But no, you people like your father, Lindy, Joe, they're forever part of me. And you know what's interesting, Phil, is when I first started recording history, I thought people our age were pretty close to old. And and now now some of the quote old people I interview are not that much older than me. So,
funny how that works.
No.
Listen, let me just say, Scott, the friends that my parents had, I mean, it was a very tight-knit community of people. A lot of them, they spent their winter months. There was a whole group of people from the Newport area in Venice, Florida. And they just did a lot of stuff together. They played bridge, they golfed. It was a very nice community of folks. I don't know that exists at the same level today in our generation. But yeah, they were a great group of people.
Right. So what is this? I know Brian's not here to speak about the project, but are you, how familiar are you with this recreation?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Scott, I haven't been involved with it other than Brian contacting me, letting me know the town of Derby was doing this, and it was Brian's idea to name it after my dad. So I don't, I try to get up to Derby every summer, but I haven't been involved in this effort at all. I did talk to Senator Welch a little bit about it. And he thought it was a great idea to name it after my dad, who he knew a little bit. But yeah, it just sounds like a wonderful idea. And these things are really good for people's health. I remember when Bernie was mayor of Burlington, and we built the bike path in Burlington, and Bernie always used to say, he said, that's going to save healthcare dollars in the long run because people are going to be healthier going out and walking on it and biking.
Right.
So these things, it's great for recreation for kids, but it also has an impact on people's health.
The one thing I think such things are needed, because I'm still going to go to my grave totally perplexed how we allowed IROC to fail. The indoor rec facility.
I remember it.
I just don't understand why the players, whether it be Community National Bank, North Country Hospital, the town of Derby, there had to have been a better answer than just letting it close. But you know what? That's water under the bridge, and now this, and I think it's great to be. Derby is a forward-thinking community, and I'm glad that we're actually starting to invest in the young people now. Yeah. And the older people.
Yeah,
Because
it's multi-generational. Yeah.
Is because we're all going to age sometime. As much as we fight it, we're all going to age. So now, are you a pickleball player?
I have to say I am, Scott.
How are you?
I spent a few months in Florida in the winter, and I got into it. At first I thought, oh, this isn't really a sport, but I love it. It's a lot of fun, and it's it's a great social event, and it's not like a workout like playing basketball or tennis, but it's a pretty good little workout, and yeah. So maybe I'll get up to Derby and try the pickleball courts.
So what is, just in a nutshell, what is pickleball?
Well, pickleball is kind of like table tennis on a court. That's how I would describe it. It's plastic ball, like a plastic wiffle ball, and makes a popping noise when it hits your racket, and it's a volleying game, back and forth, and yeah, it's a lot like table tennis.
Right. So when you were living in Derby, when you were growing up, wasn't the town clerk where it is now? That was the elementary school,
Yeah,
correct?
that's where I went to. I did all 4 grades there at that elementary school. Yeah.
Right. And what is being transformed into this recreational field? What was it at the time?
Yeah, that's why I wish Brian was here. I think it's just, I think it's an open space. I honestly, I wish I could tell you, Scott. I honestly don't know. I think it's an open space. They may have had like tennis courts there, but I think we're pretty run down. Uh, this is going to be a very, modern, upgraded facility, as I understand it.
Right. Okay, as we wrap up, I got to ask you because a lot of people remember you as being, well, I always said it was Bernie, Senator Sanders' right hand man. Are you retired these days?
I am. I retired end of 2017 after 20 years working for Senator Sanders in his Vermont office as his state director. I worked with him when he was in the House, and then when he moved over to the Senate, I worked on all of his campaigns. I helped set up the presidential in 2016. So I had a long career with Bernie, and really really proud of that work. And nobody works harder than Bernie. Nobody fights more for working people and for average folks than Bernie. So yeah, I was able to retire at 62, and I met a woman in Montreal, and we ended up getting married 5 years ago, and so we decided to make our home in Montreal for most of the year, and that's where I am right now. Let me just interject something, Scott, if I can, if we're wrapping up. I just want to thank you and acknowledge the wonderful work that you do with the Northland Journal. I just find it, those stories and the history, and you make it personal. You really capture a lot of the people. For example, my next door neighbor, who I knew very well, Don McNally, I never knew the story of Don's family that you told, vaudeville acting all across the country.
Right.
It's just great stuff, and I really appreciate it. I know the people there do. So thank you for what you do.
I really appreciate it because, to tell you the truth is, as you know, I served in the Vermont House for 4 years, and people were surprised when I decided, hey, that's enough. They said, why are you getting done? I said, it's because I want to go serve the people. And my idea, in my case, was serving the people was through my writing and through my interview. And I felt like I had a far greater mission. No disrespect for those who serve in legislature, but that wasn't the direction I wanted to take to serve the region. And
Yeah.
if anybody's sitting there thinking, hey, this guy interviews these people to get rich, well, let me tell you, especially with the postal system, the U.S. postal system, they're great. They get the mail where it has to be. Contrary to what a lot of people say, I do a lot of mailing, and for the most part, they do a spectacular job. But with their price increases, it's tough. But
Yeah.
no, I'm not in it to get rich, and I really appreciate your words because if I were to sit down, I could actually probably pretty much think of every one of the hundreds of people I've interviewed and tell their stories because I don't just hit and run. Oftentimes, I'm asked to speak at funerals even after, or even conduct them because a lot of times it's the first time people are hearing these stories, even their very own children,
Yeah.
sometimes they learn things. And
Yeah.
I absolutely love doing what I do, just like you loved doing what you did.
Yeah. Oh, you do it really well.
Uh,
Digging deep into those stories is something we don't see a lot in journalism, and
no.
so hats off to you, Scott.
Hey, I appreciate it, and thank you for coming on. And if I had to look into my crystal ball, I think there will be a Dr. Fiermonte field or something like that.
Well, that would be really nice. Thank you, Scott.
Okay, thank you for coming on, and thank you
Yeah.
for all thank you for all you've done in this world.
I appreciate that. Best to you, Scott. Thanks a million.
And thank you to the viewers for tuning in to another segment of the Northeast Kingdom Voice.